What is up, everyone? This is another episode of Nerdtooine and Movie Podcast. I am joined today by a very special guest, Doug Wagner, the writer of one of my indie Nerdtooine spec books, Vinyl. How you doing tonight, Doug?
I'm doing great. And that's not the first time I've been referred to as special, so I'm not sure it's the same meaning, but I've definitely been referred to as special.
Well, don't you worry. I've been called many a things in my day, so we're two peas in a pod.
Yep, exactly.
So I always ask every single guest I bring on, I say, what is your nerd origin story? Were you always a fan of comics growing up, or is this like a new thing?
Oh no, dude, I was born and bred a comic book fan. At a very young age, I was a short, weird kid. My parents started me in school early, so I was always the youngest one too. So you can imagine going through school as the youngest, smallest boy in class all the time. So, you're the outcast and I'm weird. So, throw in the fact that, I was deep into sci-fi and loved it. And, probably around 6 or 7, I bumped into a spinner rack at a 7-Eleven. I remember it to this day. I was with my dad. And it immediately drew me in. And, I'm looking through and he's like, yeah, pick one. I can't remember what book it was, but, I started with the classics like Casper and Wendy, the Witch, and the Flintstones and that kind of stuff. And as I got older, then I remember the day I walked in and it was an issue with Dr. Doom and Silver Surfer. It was a Fantastic Four.
Okay.
And I just immediately was like, what is this? And then it was just for a long time I just kind of picked, because with a spinner rack there was no pull box.
You're right. Oh yeah, no. I remember those days, absolutely.
Yeah, it was luck, right? If you got 2 issues in a row, it was luck. and yeah, and then it just exploded. And eventually, probably around 14, I bumped into the Uncanny X-Men, and that was the Chris Claremont, John Byrne run.
Yep.
And from that period on, comics was integral to my life.
It's funny you said that. So I originally grew up in New York, and then when I went down to Florida, I was held back because of my birthday, because of the cutoff periods are different. So I was always the oldest and shortest.
Well, that's an interesting combination.
I was always the old one, but I'm always looking up to hey, listen, I'm telling you, this is not what we should be doing right now. I've talked about this on my podcast. I was always a nerd, but I was a closet nerd for very many years. I was also an athlete. I was short, but I played baseball, basketball, lacrosse, swimming. I did it all. So I was trying to be the cool guy. And man, I wish I would have just been okay with who I was back then. Who knows what I'd be doing right now, but I'm not complaining because this is pretty awesome. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Where out in Florida did you go?
I'm in South Florida, down in Palm Beach area.
Yeah, dude, I'm originally from Fort Pierce.
No way.
Yeah, that's the spinner rack in 7-Eleven that's the origin. Fort Pierce.
That small world. I met a couple people that are literally from New York that live 2 miles away from me. We're all comic book nerds. We literally just out of nowhere we're like, where do you live? Florida. Nuh-uh. That's where I live. Where? 20 minutes down the road? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Small, as big as this world really is, it's tiny. And we can run into the situations like this all the time. And I love this community is just unreal. I've been in communities all over social media. I was in a big Star Wars fan group on Facebook many years ago, doing live shows with 20,000 people watching at a time. But this comic book community is just the next level. Yeah. We're all so supportive of each other, and it's really almost kind of scary, kind of waiting for the foot to drop. There's no way we're all this cool with each other. Something's not right here.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's what I love about going to cons. Probably more than anything, cons are fun. Obviously I'm there to try to sell books and and meet with friends and that kind of stuff. But what I love about them the most is everybody there is having a good time and they're comfortable in their own skin. And I love that. You can come and be dressed whatever you want. You're a Pokemon fan? Fantastic. Come join us. You love Deadpool? Come on, you're with us too. Let's all go to dinner. I love it. Our community
Oh
is
no,
amazing.
I actually went to my first con. I mean, I'm 34, and it pains me to say this, but a couple weekends ago, I went to my first con, and it was a small one, but it was still absolutely amazing. Not gonna lie, I walked out of there with a Wolverine #8 that Joe Fixit cover for like $30, like
Oh
crisp.
man.
I'm a huge Wolverine fan, I now have 1 through 8 of that run, so I'm like, yes, let's do this. But like, yeah, no, I remember I walked in that door and I just saw like stormtroopers walking by. I was like, I'm so happy right now. Like, it was just like and that's one thing about being a nerd. You're just, as long as you're okay with like admitting you like something, you're a nerd, whether it's sports, whether it's comics, whether it's figure skating. Like, it doesn't matter. If you're okay liking it, nerd out about it, man. Like, seriously. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and like, there's a lot of people out there that are okay with that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it
like
sucks.
you, like you were saying, like when I was growing up, and this, I'll age myself a little bit. This was pre-Star Wars. Sci-fi was not cool, so it was like I would go and get my Starlog magazine and hide it, like in my shirt as I'm leaving the store. And until Star Wars came out, obviously, I mean, that changed everything for me because then sci-fi became cool all of a sudden. But dude, I was totally a closet nerd I wasn't good at hiding it, but I was a closet nerd for a really long time.
Now, and we live and we learn. It was a different time back then too. Like, now everyone is into it, and which is great. I'm not complaining by any means. The nerds have won, and I'm totally okay with that. I just wish I was one of the first nerds to be like, that's it. We're going to win, and I'm starting right now. I don't care what anyone says, but I digress,
Yeah.
So how did you get your start in actually making comics?
Yeah, it's been a long journey for me because Cully Hamner, who obviously has done a lot, helped recreate Blue Beetle, the Red comic that turned into a movie. He and I actually went to high school together.
Oh, wow.
So we became friends in high school basically because I saw him doodling comics next to me in the desk next to me, and I was like, secretly, hey, dude, like, are you into comics? And we connected
over here.
Immediately.
Hey, over here.
Yeah, it was like, come on. And he wanted to be an artist, even way back then, and we just started like creating comics together for fun. And the weird part about it is about when I was 17, I went, I think I'm writing comic books, and I really like doing this. And so at 17, I decided, much to the disappointment of my mother, who was like, "Oh no, like it's never going to work out." And so then it was a long journey after that. Like Kelly and I still, tried to work together to get stuff going. We had a couple opportunities that fell through, as we're like building our resumes and stuff. And Hank Knaltz, he was an editor at Malibu Comics at the time. Kelly and I pitched him a book we had been working on for years, and he wanted to do it at Malibu. And so at that point, like Hank gives me he's like, okay, I'm going to get you in gear, and I want you to start doing some Ultra Force. And so I got to write an Ultra Force issue about the exact same time Marvel was buying Malibu. And so when I was about to get my assignment for 3 more issues, Marvel closed Malibu down. So that was like a huge gut punch for me, right? Like I was just like, there goes my break. Because I mean, Marvel they were like, we don't know who you are and we don't want to talk to you.
Right. And so they don't even take unsolicited work, no matter how good it is. I mean,
no.
And obviously, I guess because they're Marvel, they have the right to do so. But I feel like they're missing out on some great books that will end up going to the indies and taking off. I mean, Marvel's like one thing that they're dead set on, and I don't understand why. Really, they're only gonna do tights and capes. Like they don't really want to branch out too much. Like even if it's not connected, like something by Marvel, they don't even want to go that route. Where I mean, even DC is a little bit like they have like a couple horror books, that aren't really part of the canon, But then you got like these great. That's where the independents are kicking ass right now. I mean, if you look at like obviously your book, Vinyl, and Something That's Killing the Children, Spawn making her like. I mean, Spawn's always been big, but this is the year of Spawn, so like he's coming back with a vengeance, and you can make a case that he's an anti-hero. So I mean, guess we can take Spawn out of the equation a little bit for this, but the indies right now are just absolutely like dominating the horror market, and it's been a true joy to be a horror fan right now.
Oh yeah, it's the best. I think it's the best horror comics, probably since the old EC. back when Congress wanted to ban comics. We
Yep.
haven't seen anything like this as far as the quality. I mean, like you said, I mean, something is killing the children. What is it, like a House of Slaughter just sold over 400,000 copies for
Yep.
the first issue. I mean, dude, yeah, I'm with you. Like the indie market right now is it's killing it. The books that are coming out are so amazing. They're so good.
And I really like that people have opened up. Like there are some people who are always just, I'm either Marvel or DC, and then due to the hype of certain books, like Something Is Killing the Children, or like We Live is another one that everyone kind of jumped on. Like they're opening their horizons. Comics can tell literally any story. Doesn't matter what you're trying to tell, the comic can do it. It's literally the best of like all the entertainment mediums, besides it being not in motion. Like that's and now we're seeing with all these titles getting optioned left and right that we're gonna get those now too.
Oh yeah, I mean, but even take a look at like some of the indies that have already been made. I mean, whether we can sit here and debate on whether they're good or bad, but when you're talking about like the Umbrella Academy, The Walking Dead, obviously, right? I mean, that's an indie book, no matter what anybody says.
Yeah.
And then like what was the one that the Rick Remender one with this high school stuff? I'm drawing a blank on the girl with the samurai sword. They were all in the assassin high school.
Oh God, I know what you're talking. I can't think of the name either.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, no. I think we might just be too old at this point to remember this late at night.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, you're right. It's a new era, and I am just like I've been a huge horror fan my entire life. Like I was having nightmares at like 7 years old because I had to watch Chucky right before bed. Like I'm that kind of kid, and I got out of horror for a long time. I would say between early 90s, mid 2000s, because for me, horror just turned into let's see what weird CGI monster we can make look scary. And I got out. I was like, I'm done with horror until y'all can make something that actually gets my attention. And actually, what movie brought me back was Orphan. You remember that movie?
Oh yeah, yep.
Like I randomly was like, Orphan, I'll put it on. And I remember having that, whoa, like that feeling like, yo, this is genuine. I'm genuinely scared right now. Okay, horror's back. Horror's back. Let's do this. And I've been hit the ground running ever since.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I kind of went through the same thing. There was like you said, there was like a 10, 15-year stretch there. For me, I saw it in a different, like I understand the monster thing. Mine was like everything became like overly gory. And they thought that was the only thing that was scary, was like, oh, we're not going to have any psychological thing to this. We're just going to, spray blood everywhere. I was like, I mean, this isn't working for me. But like you said, some of the latest stuff that's been coming out, and it's all I'm more of a psychological horror guy.
Yeah.
And so, once they started kicking that stuff back in, I was like, oh yeah, here we go.
I know oh man, we can literally have an entire like segment of just how awesome horror is. But I'm going to shy away from that rabbit hole because I don't know if we'll ever come back from it. So
exactly. Yeah, I understand.
All right, how about this? When you start writing a book, where do you get your inspiration? Because a lot of your stuff is kind of out there.
Oh yeah.
Dude, like, what's that famous quote that Kirkman said about plastic?
Oh, he said it's the weirdest thing I've ever read, and I love this shit, or something. The weirdest shit I've ever read, and I love it. It's like but yeah, I mean, dude, you never know. I mean, it's always interesting to I think people are always looking for an equation or some kind of like, how do you write comics, or how do you come up with stories? And I can't put my finger on it. You never, I use the muses, right? And the muses come when they come, and they go when they go. And it can be like, for plastic, it was a road sign. The whole story came to me when I saw a road sign. Vinyl wasn't quite that easy. So like, I came up with this idea of like, what if you had a group, like if you were in a deep, dark space and you needed somebody to like help you out with some like stuff that maybe not, above board.
Right.
Who would you call? Which friends would you call?
And not the Ghostbusters.
Right, exactly. I would call like the people that I'm like, oh, that person I'm pretty sure that friend's killed somebody that just haven't told me. And that's kind of like where the whole thing started kind of developing. And then you just jump into it, and like Daniel's wonderful to work with. Daniel Hilliard, the artist on both those books. Mm-hmm. And we really strive to write something that both he and I would enjoy reading. And so that's like, I think that's the key, is like, I'm not necessarily trying to write for everybody else. It's got to be good enough for Daniel and I. And if it's not, we know it's not good enough for anybody else.
Well, see that's a double-edged sword right there, because I mean I've been working on for like the last 5 years a zombie novel, which I'm actually thinking about trying to adapt into a comic, but well, I'm not going to get into that either. But when you try to, like, me, at least me, when I read my own stuff, half the time I don't think it's any good.
Oh yeah.
And then I will give it to someone and I'll watch them read it. And when they get that like, you can see the expressions, the genuine, like, oh, damn, oh, like that's when you're like, okay, it is good. Like, so if I was the judge of whatever I ever make goes to print, it will never make it to print.
And you're 100% right. I mean, it's never, Daniel and I always, is this at least good enough for us to put out, kind of thing? Because I mean, neither one of us are ever 100% satisfied. And, it's like, oh man, I think it could be better. And I think what's interesting to me about that from a creative standpoint is I feel like every artist, every musician, anybody that's in the creative fields, and including prose novels, you get better with every stroke, whether that's a stroke on a guitar, a stroke on a line of paper, a stroke on a keyboard, you get better. And so by the time you're done for that day, you're better than you were the day before. So of course, when you go back and read it, you're gonna be like, oh, wait a minute, this is garbage. And so, yeah, I mean, dude, that's a constant fight, that imposter syndrome, that fear of like, is anybody going to like what we're putting down? It's like, especially like you said, I mean, we like to do something that's different. We're really trying to aim for something that's unique and a little odd. And when you're reading it, you're like, what are these guys doing? And so when you're kind of playing in that space, you're like, they might go, I don't know what y'all are doing, and I don't want to know.
Right. Well, there were some points in vinyl where I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I was like literally on the edge of my seat, like, but I can't wait to find out. Like, because it like there was a couple. I will get to that in a little bit before I actually say the spoiler warning, because some people get upset. I'm not gonna go too deep right now, but I was a couple of parts where I was genuinely shocked. Sweet. And was like actually impressed that I was shocked, like, because I think about like most books, I can kind of see where things are going. Like I don't know how much you know about me, but I've like literally predicted the endings of Loki, WandaVision, and like all these things. I have a WandaVision theory still alive. I don't know anyone else on the planet who does. So I mean, and so I can usually see the natural progression, and you didn't do that, and that was a treat for someone like me who's always kind of, and most times I'm bored too. I'm like, all right, this is cool, but like, yep, I knew that was gonna happen. Okay, all right, yep. But this one, I'm like, yeah, this is what I didn't see that coming. like, and that's a true testament for me, at least. Like when I do reviews too. When I get around to actually making the reviews for I'm gonna do the whole series back to back to back, and it's just a true joy to be able to just like be pleasantly surprised.
Oh, thanks. I mean, dude, we honestly, it's Daniel and I sitting down, and we will go through the like, so what's the next logical thing? And then when we catch ourselves saying that is when we take it back, we step back and go, whoa. You and I, Daniel and I wouldn't enjoy that. So now we have to come up with what isn't the logical, like what wouldn't be the next step, but somehow still is logical.
Oh yeah, and want to be clear, any of the things that surprised me weren't because I was like, where, like, this makes no sense. It was like, whoa, that's a direction I didn't like see it going, but it's still like you said, it's not maybe not the most logical, but it makes logical sense.
Yeah.
And then there was so many things that I was like just blown away. And you know what? Enough pussyfooting around. That's it. We're doing the spoiler warning as of right now. If you're not caught up to the entire series of vinyl right now, which there's 2 issues left, right?
Yes, we have 2 issues left.
2 issues left, and the one's coming out at the end of the month on the 26th, I believe.
I believe so. I believe that is correct.
All right. So in the description, I'll put the actual dates and everything, but I'm just going off the top of my head for that. But I'm caught up in vinyl, so we're gonna go full spoiler territory, and you might get in trouble if you don't like it. So you've been warned. So I'm gonna start off with, in your own words, and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, what is vinyl comic all about?
To me, when we're coming up with this, it was really, it's about Walter and his peculiar friendships and his loyalty to who he considers his best friend. And so you got this guy who has decided, this FBI agent who wants to put him away for years, obviously for the rest of his life, who meets with him monthly trying to do this. That's what his best friend in his head would do. And so Walter's like, Dennis is my best friend. And so when when the FBI agent gets kidnapped by this crazy sunflower cult, Walter's like, oh no, I'm not having that. So he does exactly what we talked about earlier. He's like, well, I mean, if I'm going to have to fight a cult in some kind of underground death bunker, I'm going to call friends that think like I do. And so he goes and basically puts together his Justice League of serial killers.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, let's go and get my friend.
Oh my God. That is the perfect analogy for I was thinking of what do I call that group? Oh my God, that is amazing. Justice League of serial killers. Oh, it has such a great ring to it. Oh, I love it. Oh, that's beautiful. But yeah, and that was those characters were a real bright spot for for me in the book. When you can have ancillary characters and tertiary characters that are as enthralling as the main characters, it really makes for a great, enjoyable read. There's usually in most comics you'll be I don't really like this character, they just serve a purpose. But there hasn't been, for me at least, anyone in this comic that is like that. The twins, I mean, oh my God. They're just amazing. And I know they wouldn't work if they were live action, but I see the Weasley twins.
Oh yeah.
And totally. and I just have the greatest time in picturing those two guys doing that. And Guy, oh man, just the monstrous brute that is so much more than what he looks like. Initially you think, oh yeah, he's just this big pouncing no man, that man's deep. His last words, we'll get into that in a second, was just blew me away. I was like, this guy, he just broke that was some emotional shit right there. What the hell? I thought he was just a mean, bruising serial killer. No, the guy's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we had so much fun coming up with him too. And it's funny that because for the longest time we just called Guy the big guy. We couldn't come up with a name with him. And so the funny part was at one point I was like, Daniel, screw it. We're just going to name him Guy. He's just some big guy, So I mean, yeah,
it works.
So much fun. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know how are you able to make a ruthless serial killer like Walter be so undeniably menacing, but somehow so lovable at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, what was fun about that is when I started digging into plastic and doing a lot of research on serial killers, when you hear about the more famous ones, what's interesting, you find out is everybody loved them. They didn't know they were serial killers. They were just these really affable, friendly, actually most people were drawn to them. They had a special charisma. And they're like, what do you mean they were killing people? Right. And so that kind of had me go down this rabbit hole of well, wait a minute, I know some really sweet, wonderful, charismatic people. And then I started thinking I mean, I'm sure you had those kind of friends. And when those friends snap, it's the scariest shit on the planet.
Yes.
When normal people get mad, they just get mad. But when you're sweet, friendly, I mean, I have a friend whose wife is one of the most sweetest human beings on the planet. When she snaps, you don't want to be in the same state.
Turns into Wolverine.
Oh yeah,
just the berserker mode.
Yeah, kill all of them, And so just kind of dove into that of I like that split personality of now obviously I made Walter a lot more weird, because that's who I am. But let's make him this guy who comes across as if you just met him and talked to him on an airplane, you'd be like, oh, that was a really nice guy.
Right. You see on the news, nice guy kills 75 people. What the hell?
Exactly. You're like, what? I mean, I sat right next to him. He seemed like the sweetest guy. So yeah, I mean, it was just one of those, dive into that and have fun with it and kind of try to draw you into, you always want people to love your main character.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah.
It is an anxiety-filled tightrope act when you're doing that. I mean, I think it's a lot like, say, Deadpool or Harley. I mean, you got the kind of an anti-hero thing, and you can go too far with one of those characters, but luckily nobody's ever done it to where it went, oh, wait a minute, Deadpool's a horrible person, or Harley's a horrible person. You went, I love Harley. I don't care if she kills 75 people.
Right, yeah. You always for Deadpool and Harley specifically, you can wrap your head around why they did, like, oh, they justified means to the end type thing, like, but I think it goes a little bit deeper with Walter, because like it had a very like Donnie Brasco feel to me, where like you're rooting for the quote bad guy because the good guy's actually the jerk.
Yeah.
Like that's how I'm reading this. Like, I want the FBI, I want the good guy to get killed right here. Like, leave my bad psychopath serial killers alone. Let them get out free and clear. Walter, walk away and go live your life, my friend. Live your best life.
Yeah,
but like and like that's a little bit different with Deadpool and Harley. You're just like, well, they're just crazy. You know what I mean? They do whatever they want because they're who they are. But like with Walter, it's like you just like I feel like I'm gonna end up making a meme. If Walter dies, we riot. Like, like, but like on it, like when you think about it in the context of the story, I mean, it would be fitting if that's how it went out like that. I'm not gonna try to poke you too much to get any spoilers, because I've done that to people before and I got them in trouble. So I'm not gonna do that here. But yeah, he's such a great character, and I've really enjoyed like reading just like little, because you little by little you've chipped away at what makes him tick. Like initially you just think he's a serial killer, so he's got his reasons, but then like little by little you start to see why he made these relationships, why he has to have the headphone in, why this, why that. And it's just like the more I read, the more I wanted to see this psychopath succeed.
Yeah. That's what you hope when you're writing that kind of story is, I'm glad you said that, because obviously that hits me in the heart, because it's like, yes, thank God. When you're writing something like that, you're like, you don't know if anybody, my mom, we won't even get into like, she's like, what are you doing? Like, what happened in your childhood that would make you write something like plastic and vinyl? Like, I don't know. I love it. Like,
don't worry, Mom. It's all good. That's one of those like, don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to, Mom. But like, and then another thing you did really well in this book was you got us to love these characters, and then you just took them away from us.
Yeah, I mean,
like the twins, mm-hmm. and Guy, of course. So, and those like the endings of those characters were just like out of this world. Like, I'm like, again, I usually can predict things that are gonna happen, and I didn't see these coming. Like when the first twin just gets ripped to shreds, and then the second just gets, I'm like, what is going on? Like, but like again, like you said, it's that what's going on, but in a good way. Like, yeah. I wasn't like, what are they thinking? This is just no. I'm like, holy crap, they had the balls to do that? Oh, well, what's gonna happen next? Like, because like it's one of those things that like it's a testament to your writing ability, that you can make a character as sadistic. Like, through the whole issues before these characters died, they were massacring people like in brutal, like horrible ways. And then when they're you're dying, you're like, but why? Like, I love the twins. They were so awesome. But like, and then, or like Guy with, like I said, we were talking earlier about that, his last words, like, hey, tell Walter it was glorious. What? Like, as he's just on fire, just knocking the shit. I'm like, that scene, those scenes right there were what, like, in my opinion, like, I'm reading it in my head. I was watching those scenes.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even get it out right because my brain got crossed. It was like, I that's why when I pick a Nerdtooine spec book, it's because I see the potential of what's on the paper to translate to the screen without little work. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily mean that it's easy to do, but it would be easier for a studio to go, we don't have to do nothing, just cast them? All right, let's do it. Like, versus like, well, here's my idea. I think you can adapt this part, and then this part, and then this part. No, but you can literally hand them the vinyl book. Here, it's only 6 issues. Here you go. Read it. That's what I want to do. I'll wait for your call. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, right, yeah. Here it is. Congratulations. You're welcome. But how did you come up with those two, like specifically the deaths of those 3 characters?
Yeah, I mean, when we were doing the summary, and I go through like Daniel and I work really closely together. So like, there's a lot of like, here's what I'm thinking. Let me throw a 1 page summary at you. Let me throw it a 6 page summary at you. And so most of those scenes in the summary are just the twins get killed. And so then it's like when I get to that scene, I always want deaths to have some kind of impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's put on my creepy music and kind of walk around the office and keep going through different scenes until it hits. And I think what's interesting on both of those is like I'm always like, well, what's their last word? And so like when it
Okay.
finally comes to you, and you can go, okay, what's their last word? And that kind of like builds everything out. You can lead to that pretty easily. And so like with the twins, when he's just like, when the last twin's looking at Randy and he's like, you promised. And like
Yep.
somebody dying as they say, look at you and go, but you promised. Like that's like a death pact, right? Like
Yep.
you have to deliver on that promise. And so, that kind of went, okay, I understand where I'm going there. And then with Guy, it was just that, like an older guy, like, and honestly, that comes from a little bit like, unfortunately, I've had, health scares in the past, and you're like, man, if I have cancer and I only have 5 years left to live, how do I want to live those last 5 years? And so with Guy, that actually there was some impact of like, maybe I want to jump off a ship and attack a shark, and people go, Doug Wagner died attacking a shark. Not that he died from cancer, right? It's like
right.
he attacked a shark. And so that's where Guy's kind of like, it has to be glorious.
Oh, that's all. Like, like I said, we were talking about earlier that scene where he's just fighting off all those and it was the sunflowers that were attacking him, or was that the
sunflower girls? Yeah,
the sunflower girls. And he's just fighting them all off. Like, and I'm thinking in my head, like when I'm reading it, like slow motion battle. The watcher's gonna think that they're going to succeed because it's one of the main characters, and then they fall. But they have this epic, like, peace out, homie, and just fading to black. Like that was like, and that right there was just what solidified to me. I was like, this has to get made into a movie. Like it like that scene. If you get the right actor to do that, would be like you'll have people crying over a serial killer's death. Yeah. Like legit cry. Like I can't believe Guy was so like because that's. At least that might be my takeaway, but I guess I'm a little weird too. So
yeah. No, I mean, it's weird because I mean, with me, even if I write a scene like both of those scenes and I choke up a little bit when I'm writing it, that makes me know that like I'm hitting the right notes, for Daniel and I. And so if it doesn't, I know I'm falling short. So like
yes, grown men cry when they're writing sad things. Get over it.
All the time. Yep, I'm definitely a crier.
Yeah, no, I some of the things that I've written. Yeah, no, you get to that because I started after my grandmother passed. I started writing a book, a movie about like someone going through that. And I'm sitting there typing. I'm like, if this ever gets made, I swear it's gonna get me an Oscar. Like, but like I know that feeling. It's and exactly like you said, you hit it right there. You're hitting the right note when you writing a fictional thing that you're creating. It gets to you because it's like your character. You're literally like you're making your character die in the way you thought of it, but it should. Like people who don't create like that, they don't get like you mean you're crying, like you're writing a fake story, right? Like yes, but hopefully when you read it, you'll think the same thing and start crying too. Damn it!
Like, but didn't you know they were gonna die? Oh yeah, I had that plan from the beginning. But still, it's like the way they go out, and if you can see it in your head, like you said, if it feels like live action to you when you're writing it, and it just hits you, if you're doing it right.
No, absolutely, and it's a testament to the character development because if it's a character you didn't work really hard to create and to develop this rich backstory and to make lovable and things of that nature, to kill them off would be nothing. It's like writing a zombie novel and killing off 1,000 zombies. Who cares? They're zombies. Like these are not zombies. These are the main characters here. Like and you get attached to them even in the creative process.
Oh yeah, those most definitely. Yeah, I love them all. I even love the
All right.
villains half the time.
Oh, well, see that, and I'm usually drawn to the villains myself. Like when I see a really good villain, I'm like, this is gonna be great. Like that's just so. Talk about the villain. Where did you come up with this death cult idea and the main? And you have a very let's see how to say it politically correctly. A very attractive. Looks like a high upstanding young lady as the head of this death cult.
Yeah. I mean, when we came up with the team, we knew what we kind of wanted to do. We had the team in place. We just didn't know who the villains were going to be. And we went through this typical, oh, what if it's a gang? What if it's, the mafia? What if it, and you kind of go through all those and we were like, and then I guess Daniel one night watched Manson documentary. And he came back and he's like, what about a cult? And at first I hated the idea. I won't lie. I hated it. I was like, cults are stupid. Like, I don't want to dive into that. And then it just started like resonating. And then I saw the commercial and I can't remember what it's for, but it's Charlize Theron. And she walks out of this pool and she's wearing like this almost see-through gown. And I went, that's my villain.
Right.
And so we based it off of that commercial. I mean, that's where it all kind of, like I said, you don't know when the muses are going to speak to you. And so we went, that's a thing. And then sunflowers and all that kind of stuff just came through the development of like our cult. Like, what would they do? And you never know how those things are going to develop. But yeah, I mean, Madeline was created based completely on that commercial.
All right, hold on. Give me a second while I call Charlize and let her know that we have our new role for her.
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, well, that would be amazing because I think she would knock that character out of the park.
Oh yeah, what can't she do? Like seriously, like one of the most talented actresses that we've seen in a long time. Now, all right, so we're talking about characters. What's the deal with Renee? Because I'm sitting here like I feel like I'm reading too far into it, but like she's kind of just literally bathing in blood. What's the deal? Is Renee a vampire?
No, actually much worse in my head. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
She's a serial killer. And so like when you're doing the research on that, you find out like there's almost no female serial killers. And so we started joking that like Dana and I think women are just, if there are female serial killers, which I'm sure they are, they're too smart to get caught.
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, no, there's probably more. They're just too good at it. We can't catch them.
and then it kind of leaned on to like, what would that mean? Like if you have a serial killer that never leaves any evidence, and then that kind of leaned back into like I'm half Native American, and so growing up with some of that, like you learn like when Native Americans hunted, they never wasted anything from a kill, and I was like, oh my God, what if she when she kills somebody, she doesn't waste anything, so there's no evidence. Well, I mean it depends. I mean she's wearing clothes made out of human flesh. But you wouldn't know it by looking at them. So
right.
Like, and then I was like, well, what would you do with all that blood? And I was like, oh, well, she's going to bathe in the blood. And there's like a psychological element for her that she thinks that if she doesn't bathe in blood on a frequent basis, you've seen her start itching and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a physical manifestation of her like hunger to kill. And so,
see, and that's exactly why I was like, because there are three things that made me go, I'm pretty sure she's not, but I'm gonna have to ask. The very first time we see her when did the close up on her teeth, I was like, okay, close up on teeth. They didn't look like vampire teeth, but still. And then the bathing in blood, I'm like, huh. And then when she started itching, I was like, it's like she actually needs blood. Wait a minute, is she a vampire? And I'm thinking to myself, that's a little out there, but maybe that might be that out there thing that I didn't see coming. And I'm glad I'm wrong because that is so much more interesting to me. It's more interesting. So literally this serial killer has developed this psychosis that if they don't bathe in the blood of their kill, they are literally like a fiend. Like, oh my God, like that itching, like I need my hit. Like where is, and I liked when that killer's like, I'm going to need her skin. It's like, no. She's one of us. She's good. We're fine here. We'll kill somebody else for you, Renee. Don't know this one. I like this one. It's okay.
Yeah, and I mean that's the fun part. I mean, like she has hairpins and those kind of things, and if you're paying attention, like those are made out of bones. So like that's the fun part we have. Yeah, like she's like into fashion. She's clearly making clothes, but she's making clothes and hairpins and combs out of people. The joys of serial killing.
She's the one. So the fact that she just won't waste anything, it's just so delightful.
She's ecologically sound.
You know what? She is I think she might be the first green serial killer.
Yeah, I think you're right.
She recycles. She recycles everything, people.
Yep. Waste nothing.
You know, and I found interesting, like, now, I don't know if this was your decision, but all the serial killers, when they kill someone, they leave the blood either on their face or on their hands. Like, I get, like, on their face a little bit, like, when my thought, because I said I write myself and think, wouldn't you at least wipe your hands so that whatever weapon you're holding doesn't have any, like, thing slippery, so you won't lose it? But all the kills, it's almost like they wore them like a badge of honor. Like, I can't wipe this off because it shows you that I did this, almost.
I see that you spent quite a bit of time thinking about serial killing. So,
just a bit.
We won't dive into that. No, I mean, for us, obviously, for Daniel and I, there's some imagery there that we wanted to keep. So we keep them kind of dirty and bloody to kind of let you see the progression of them.
Okay.
Getting more and more, covered in blood and filth. But I will say, with that said, there are people that are like, I've seen people who do yard work and obsessively wash their hands in between each task. And then there's people that wait until the job's done to wash their hands. And if I had to say, like, here with these guys, I think the group is like, we will clean up once the job is done. There's no reason to start cleaning up beforehand. I mean, have you ever been to like a lobster or crab boil? Like, these delicate tools covered in butter. Like, they're completely like head to toe covered in butter. And they're still like, click, click, click. So I think humans just learn to work around it.
I know, and I love that too. Like, that the blood all over, like, especially when, like, for instance, like when the twin. Well, did you give the twins names? They were just twins.
They're just the twins.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I'm thinking, like, wait, which twin was it? Did I ever get names? No. The one that killed himself. I'm sitting there like, because they had all this blood all over them, and then they're just literally, here's some more blood. Like, I'm like, whoa, like, and I love the just vibrant reds that were used too. Like, and the all the gore, while was a lot, it was tasteful somehow. Like, it was like, it's weird. Like, there's that fine line between not enough gore for it to be like a real, like, murdery type movie, whether it's zombies or whatever. And then there's too much. It's just like, you did that just because you think we have to have it, like you were speaking about earlier. And like, but you seem to walk that line where it's like, okay, that was disturbing, but I'm totally okay with this. What he's going to do next.
We bumped into something when we were doing plastic, and it was the Laura Martin cover, Deadhead cover. Laura colored that almost in like a Disney style, light pinks and lavenders and that kind of thing. And when we're at shows, young girls are drawn to that cover. It's insane. Like, you're sitting there and you put that cover up, and little girls come up and they're like, I love this cover. And you can see them looking at it and their brain like missing a tick because they're like, wait a minute, what am I looking at? And it gave Daniel and I this idea of like, what if vinyl was beautiful horror? Like, instead of the classic, like grungy, dirty, dark and damp, what if we went the opposite way? So when we got Dave Stewart aboard and we said, dude, we want to do beautiful horror, he's like, I got a great idea for the blood. And so I'm glad you mentioned that right out, without even prompting, because like, that was Dave's thing. And he's like, I think I can pull this off. I want to do beautiful horror. And so that's why the colors are so bright. We're trying to do kind of like this, like, instead of this dark, like I said, I mean, you and I watch so much horror. I mean, almost every horror is almost, it's dark, it's shot through a blue lens, like
the dark around the corner, like, and that's the thing, like, a lot of horror uses the jump scares and stuff like that. With your book here, it was right out in the open. Like, you were like, this is what we're doing. Look at it. Like, it was like there and beautiful horror. I didn't even think that's a really interesting way to put it, because that really is like the artwork. It's like, it's so bright and vibrant and almost hopeful. Mm-hmm. like in this dark story, like this is one of those like opposites attract. Like, somehow it works better than it should even possibly work. And it definitely sets this book apart from the other just hacking, slashing horror stuff. Like and that's another thing. I can totally see this vibrant color scheme, and like if you get like a banging soundtrack, like this thing. Hey, whoever's and no one's listening, but I'm telling you, this is a book to option vinyl. Yeah, and call Charlize Theron because we need her as the lead.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they shot it like we were talking about, if they shot it with like good lighting and instead of the dark lighting and really decided they were going to like lean into the vibrancy of it, I think people would really like fall in love with that kind of like style of a horror movie because I don't think it's been done before.
No, not like that at all. Like you said, like what are the best horror movies? Franchises. You got Freddy, Jason. They're either in the dreams in the dark in a scary mindscape, walking through the dark woods. I mean, like these are the iconic characters that are all in the dark. And you brought your horror experience to the light.
Yeah. When you put it that way, it's like instead of being scared of the dark, maybe you should be scared of the light.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh my God. Hey, branding right there. That needs to be at the bottom of the poster. Like, are you afraid of the dark? Maybe you should be scared of the light. Oh, this movie is writing itself. But I definitely think there's a lot of legs on this book, and I also think one of a big twist that hit me like a freight train was that Alzheimer's twist. Like, where did you come up with? Did you know from the very start that that's what you were going to do, or did that evolve as you were writing it?
It evolved more on when we were doing the character designs. Okay. We went through a couple of character designs for Walter. And besides, we wanted something other than he was just going to save his friend. Something other motivations besides that, something deeper. And I'd just had a conversation with a friend. We kind of were going through some old memories and laughing and having a good time. I got off the phone and I was like, that's the precious stuff. That's the true meaning of life right there. When you can sit down and laugh until you cry over something you did in third grade. Yeah. And those are the things that like really like that's the important stuff. And I went, oh crap, that's what Walter should be obsessed with is memories. And then I was like, and then being the evil person that I am, I went, and he's losing them uncontrollably. Oh. So that's where the Alzheimer's came in, and it's like all he cares about is memories now. At his age, that's all he cares about. And obviously, doing the research in that, you find like music can help people with their memories. Yes. And so that's where the earplugs came in and like, okay, so now he has to constantly listen to music just to remember who he is. And if you're paying attention, like he's remembering that he's a serial killer. Those are his fond memories. And so like, that's where all the music stuff comes from. And he's like, and so that's where we had fun with that, like, okay, he has to have earplugs, that became part of the design. And, then this twist of like, you find out like, oh my God, like if he's not listening to music, he doesn't know who he is.
It's interesting, like, because you don't realize it when you read the first panel, which is that actually, like him sitting there not knowing who he is. You don't know that when you're first reading it. What made you go that route to put that at the very beginning? Was it just to hook everyone in, or was there like a deeper reason for that?
For us, it was we realized like when we were coming up with the first issue, that the first issue, as you know, like when you're writing that first setup issue, it can get a little visually bland because we weren't going to be in the bunker yet. We weren't going to be like, we're not in the middle of bloodletting at the point. And so I was like, let's do like the most disturbing opening scene we could possibly come up with. And so like,
okay,
we call her Mother. And so, we put Mother with the, dragging this axe. And then like, Dennis just pleading with Walter, please remember who you are and save me, kind of thing. And it's like,
right.
Just like, what's the worst situation we could put these characters in? And that's where we kind of came up with that and went, yes, I want to open with this and really drive home. Like, I mean, what Daniel's idea of putting it in a nursery was brilliant because that just like made, like we were talking about earlier. I mean, Dave went, oh, I'm going to color the crap out of this. This is going to look like a Disney film. Like I can't wait to get into this beautiful horror mode with this scene. And that's kind of like, it was kind of just to establish the feel and the tone to expect from there on out.
Yeah, and when I finally got to the part where Mother was actually coming out, I was like, I literally was like, wait a second. And I went back to the first issue. Was like, I knew. Oh my. I didn't like that scene where it goes, get mother's axe. For whatever reason, I didn't put two and two together that they were talking about another character. I thought she was talking about herself. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, let's see this woman. Oh, wait, she's not mother. Oh, because like I thought, like, because when I thought back to that first panel, I'm thinking she didn't look pretty when she was dragging that axe. So in my head, I'm like, how does it go from here to there? And then we realize, oh, I'm thinking about two separate characters. Okay, that makes sense. Now I'm like, because I'm thinking to myself, wow, that next issue is going to be insane if this like perfect looking person turns into that in one issue. We got some problems here.
Oh yeah. That would have been an interesting. I don't know if I could have pulled that one off.
Listen, I don't think anyone could have pulled that off.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you know what? That would have been the, you know what are they doing here moment for me. Like, they should have known they couldn't have pulled this off. This was not a good idea. No, I'm a huge fan of this delightfully gruesome, vibrant horror book. So what if anything you can give us about the remaining two issues?
Oh yeah, I mean it's I'll tell you that it was supposed to be just one more issue.
Oh.
And I tried my best to fit it into one issue, and finally went back to everybody involved and said, listen, I have to have another issue to do this finale properly. And so, you know, you will know that it obviously comes down to Madeline and Walter.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, right? I mean, it has to. And I'll say, I think to date, it's the best finale scene I've ever written.
Oh.
So I finished dropping the letters on it Friday, and it was one of those scenes to where, like, dude, I had tears in my eyes. You know, I was like, this is how this book should end.
See, so there are 4 out now, and there's a total of 6.
Correct.
So let's see, vinyl number 6, number 5 would be the next one. Let me see when the release date is. You know, it's funny. Every time I type in vinyl, it like will automatically bring up like vinyl record stores. I'm like, that's cute, but that's not what I needed this time. Thank you very much. Just so I can get the exact release date on here. Wow. Literally, like when I'm looking, it's all like just like vinyl records. No, the comic, you stupid.
I'm pretty sure you were right the first time. Like 26, 27.
That's
somewhere around that date.
Whatever. It'll be in the description. I'm not wasting any more time with that stupid thing. But yeah, definitely need to add this to your pull list. I mean, granted, there's only 2 left, but you can catch up and really enjoy this insane, like roller coaster thrill ride through the most vibrantly beautiful horror I've ever seen. And that is a compliment, whether you guys believe it or not. Once you read it, you'll be like, oh my God, this really is beautiful. Okay, I see what he was talking about. Like, and then not just by the imagery, but the writing. You've done a fantastic job, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me about it, because I've been trying to tell people about this book forever. I'm reading it like, do you guys reading vinyl? They're like, no. I'm like, why not? Like, especially because like most of the people I know that are reading comics right now are heavily into the horror comics.
Oh yeah.
For not only the fact that a lot of them are really good right now, but if we're looking at the spec game, that's where it is right now. Yeah. The adult horror books are the ones that are getting optioned left and right. So for me, that's what's surprising the most, that people weren't as hyped about it as I was, because it must have slipped their radar. So I've been literally telling everyone I can meet, like, hey, vinyl.
Well, dude, I appreciate that. Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm here. Literally, if you look at my, if you ask my friends, they'll be like, he's been talking about that book for so long. and I don't put Nerdtooine spec on anything, only the things I believe in. And this, and we were talking about it earlier, if they can get the colors and the soundtrack right, this would be one of those you'll forget it's a horror, like a horror movie, and just be like, that was just a fantastic movie. Like, I think that's my humble opinion. I'm not an exec or anything, but maybe one day I will be. We'll see.
Well, it's interesting, when you say that. Like, obviously my stuff is different.
Yeah.
And so, even with plastic, I've heard over years. So, I mean, plastic still sells really well. We had to go to second printing just this last month for the trade. And trying to get people to try it is tough. But it seems like when they do, they like it. And I think vinyl's got the same kind of, it's like people are like, what's it about? Are you sure?
Yes.
And so, I think it's a hard sell from that aspect because it is different and people are looking for familiar. But I think, there's enough familiar in there. I think people will go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this is serial killers. This is a horror thing. Like you can still relate to the characters kind of thing.
Wait, and just because you can relate to the serial killers don't make you one.
No.
Just saying.
Yep.
Anyone who needs to hear that. Not that I'm saying it out loud to myself, so I believe it or anything, but no. This book is one of my, like, I got to the point where I didn't want to ruin my, like, paper copies that I repurchased them all on digital just so I could read them again and again. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I literally, like, because I read them as they come out. Like, I don't have very many of my pull lists that I actually read on. Like, my to read pile is just absolutely insane at the moment. Like, I think I'm at, like, probably about 50 books that I'm behind on, like, easily. Like, but there are a few, like the Nocteras, like vinyl, that when I get them, I'm like, all right, everything goes in the closet with all the other books. Let me go ahead and just start reading that one. Like, and for those of you, so this is the cover, everyone. This is the secret variant, if I'm not mistaken, of vinyl number 1, because the regular one just has Walter on the cover. Nice little wraparound.
Yep.
And see how beautiful that is? Like, come on, guys. How do you not want to read this book? And with the most delightful serial killers you'll ever meet.
We try to make them to where you would want to hang out with them and not hang out with them.
Right. You're like, I'll hang out with you, but in a well-lit area where I can easily run away.
Yeah, you find out, like, oh, wait a minute. Walter picks his victims because they have vinyl records. As long as I don't let him know I have any, I can be his friend.
As you take all the ones you have off the wall.
Yes, exactly.
Is that a record player? It doesn't work. I swear, Walter.
It's my wife's.
It's my ex-girlfriend. She lives right here. Just go and take it up with her. And when you're there, get all my comics that she still has. But that's your prize. That's what you earned. One last question I just thought of. Were there any specific reasons why you picked the songs you did?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to remember all the reasons why, but there's definitely some, when you go back, and what was the first one? The first one's Robert Johnson. And if you watch anything on Robert Johnson in the documentary, he's the one that came up with the original kind of legend of, like, I traded my soul to learn how to play guitar.
Oh.
And there's a really cool 45-minute documentary on him on Netflix. And honestly, that's, when I watched that, I was like, that has to be a song in this book, because, like, Walter's kind of playing with this, angel devil kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, it's just finding the right song. And then for Whisper, if you watch, Ella Fitzgerald, who I adore her music anyway, so I had to pick one of hers. But to me, it was the Mask. The Mask is a Whisper. That's what's your whisper personality. The one that you only speak to yourself, kind of thing. And it's like, so yeah, there's definitely, like, some background to all the reasons why I picked the songs, which took forever.
And I think about it. The one downside of trying to get this movie made is getting the rights to all those songs.
Oh yeah, I think there could be other songs that could work, obviously, but yeah, those, because they're so classical and there's so much soul in them.
Yeah,
that it would be, you just can't use any song in those situations.
Hey, Netflix got deep pockets.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Netflix, HBO, they've all got deep pockets, so they can definitely make it. But I've been truly enjoying reading this run, and I unfortunately, while I'm now excited to know what I'm expecting, with a 2-part finale, I am a little sad that it is coming to an end. Is there any chance that there could be a spinoff in this same universe?
Oh yeah. I mean, like, and I owe this all to Eric Stevenson, the publisher at Image. When we did Plastic, and it did really well for us, and he's like, I think, because we talked about doing a sequel. He's like, instead of doing a sequel, I think you should think about doing something like, a trilogy, all based on materials. And so that's kind of where Vinyl, is the next one, and then we're doing a third one, which I can't give too much away yet. But the universe is doing well enough that I think we're going to keep playing here for a while, because not only is this like this is what Daniel and I mean, we love what we've done on both of these books so far, and what we're doing on the new one too, and it's where we want to play. We just love what we're doing here, and we want to stick, and we love the characters, just like you said. I mean, I'm crying when one of them dies, and I knew it was happening. So there's definitely like we don't have any. We've changed our tune of like what we wanted to do with our lives when we got halfway through Vinyl, and I went, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep playing in this universe with these characters as long as people will let us. And so, yeah, we have plans to stay there for a while.
Well, that is music to my ears, because like I said, I'm really enjoying. I don't like. There's not many books that I will buy all the paperbacks and then buy the digital, and then I'm sure if there ever is a trade, I'll get that too, so I can have the actual feeling of just rereading it over and over again. But it's honestly, for the type of story it is, it does have a lot of rereadability. Like you would think, and like in a lot of horror books for me, like once you see the reveal, you know what's happening. It doesn't necessarily lose the same feel, but it makes it where you're like, I don't really have to read that again. Like I know it happens, but like I've read it a few times now, because I not because I'm trying to like, ooh, let me find one little tiny thing that's gonna fix everything. I'm gonna understand everything, but I enjoy it because and it comes back to, you keep saying, we keep talking about it, the beautiful horror. It's just stunning, and it makes me want to go back and read it again. And the writing, it hooks you, that opening panel, it literally hooks you from the second you open it, and I'm sitting here like, I want the next issue already. like it, and it's just it's a great book. So if you guys aren't reading it, Nerdtooine spec book for sure. Vinyl, Image Comics, written by my awesome special guest, Doug Wagner. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to talk with me for an hour now about your journey through comics and what you've got in store. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure when that next book drops, I'm going to be reaching out again like, hey, so we need a second interview. Oh,
yeah, dude, anytime, dude. Yeah, it was a pleasure. I appreciate you like having me on. This was a blast. So thank you so much.
Absolutely my pleasure. Again, Vinyl, Image Comics. If it gets optioned, you definitely heard it here first.
I will remember that.
And I will accept all of your apologies when that happens. But again, thank you so much for joining me, and I appreciate everyone stopping by. If you're watching this later, let me know what you think, and maybe we get some questions. I can get them to Doug, and we can get them answered if they're not too spoiled territory. We'll see. But I really appreciate it, and until next time, may the force be with you.
And with you.
Thank you. All right.